Hey, what's up, everybody? So, yeah, thanks for tuning in. We have been in this live coding stream, we've been building this landing page website from scratch. And the design template is from this place called frontendmentor.io. And yeah, I've been pretty impressed with their designs. It's just a place that you can get free website designs that you can use. They're open source, you can use them for anything, for your own projects or for client work, even. And yeah, we're almost done with this website, which is pretty cool. So the first thing is we need to get one of these sort of triangular shapes again, kind of similar to what we had up here. So here we got, let me resize my window here. We got our files open here in VS Code. And I don't know if I need this right now, but yeah, you can see here I have my index.html file here, and this is where I'll be adding the markup for the footer part. And then over here I have all my files and stuff. So we'll probably be creating some more Sass files. And then you can see at the bottom I have a little terminal output, and we're using Parcel to compile the Sass files into CSS. You can use anything you want, but I'm using Parcel in this project. I'm actually sort of going back to Gulp, just because I didn't really like the way Parcel would rename files and stuff, but it's a great tool. I think everyone kind of has their own sort of preferences and stuff, but there are a few things that made it a little sort of extra, had a few extra steps that I didn't want to take. Whereas with Gulp, I think I've sort of figured out my workflow and everything for that already. So, okay, let's start writing some code. So again, the first thing that I usually do when I'm making any kind of website is I will start by adding the HTML markup, and then I'll add the CSS styles. So down here in our index.html, we're just gonna add a little comment. I just do this to make it easy to kind of parse through your files, and just kind of keep things organized. So since this is the footer, we'll just use the footer tag. And then let's go back to the design. So we got here, this is going to overlap my window a little bit, but what we have here is 3 columns. So we have the triangle part at the top, and then we have these 3 columns at the bottom. So to do that, I think what I'm going to do is add 2 sort of children elements to the footer. So one's going to be for the triangle, and then one's going to be for all the links at the bottom. So we'll add one div class. We'll just say footer, oops, if I can type, footer triangle. And I think that's a similar naming to what I did above earlier in the website when I had that features triangle section. Yeah, features triangle. So I just try to keep my naming consistent if I can. It's going to minimize the stuff that I don't really need to look at right now. Sign up form. Okay, so we're down in the footer. So then after that footer triangle div, we'll add let's do a section footer links. Actually, no, let's do footer content. The names don't matter too much, just whatever kind of makes sense for you and makes it easy for you to sort of go back, and if you have to make changes in the future, you won't be stuck just trying to find out where something is. So then we'll do footer. So we got here is we got 3 columns. I'll call this one maybe the left footer logo, footer links, and then footer form. So we'll do footer logo, or maybe contact, because it doesn't have just a logo, it has contact info. Footer contact, footer links, I believe I said, and then footer form. Okay. So yeah, so this is the main markup that we need. And now I'm just going to fill out the kind of rest of the markup and the text and the links and stuff. So let's go into the footer contact section, and we will add the logo and then the phone number and the email. And I might need to do a little bit of searching for finding those files, but that's okay. Hello, no Namo, and oh, sorry, Jess Corinne Singh. Thanks for joining us today. Okay, so we will. I wanted to see where I got the logo here and just how I coded that. So it looks like I did just an A link, and then yeah, I added a background image with that SVG. Actually, I think it's the exact same. Yeah, it's like a light purple with a white text thing. So I think I can reuse that. So in order to reuse the CSS, I would need to take all the CSS from this logo element out of the CSS just for header and put it in kind of like its own like helper class and not being under header. So let's sort of do that first. So here's the header logo. Let me just make sure there's nothing else that I was using. Nav. So I think if I just take these styles for the logo class, and then let's just put it in global. Yeah, so we'll put it here. So that means theoretically I move the CSS out of the header SAS file into the global one, but the header logo here should still work if I reload. So let's just double check that. Okay, everything looks good. So now we know that if I want to add another logo element into the footer, all I have to do is sort of copy the same markup that I had here with the logo link. So let's do that. Okay, and let's see. Cool thing about Parcel is it does reload things for you. So it does look like it has loaded that logo and everything in there. It's just white on white, so you can't read it. Okay. Let's copy the copy. And Front-End Mentor also includes this file where it just sort of has all the copy there for you, so you don't have to manually type it out. So I believe it's just the phone number and email. Yeah. And I'm assuming each of these are going to be links. So if you click on the phone number, we want it to, like, I guess, call the phone number, and then for the same with the email, it'll be like a mail to link. So let's see. I just want to put each of those in links. And I think I want everything, the entire element to be clickable. So even if you click on the icon, it'll call or it'll send that email. So let's do that. And we'll just put empty links in for now. Class equals maybe phone. I don't think I had used that before. And then we can do this. Oop, extra space. Then we'll do the same thing for the email. Okay, cool. So I think what I'm going to do is I will load these icons as background images, and then I'll add left padding to each of those elements so that they'll be spaced correctly. So there will be space between the icon image and then the text. So this is good enough for now. So let's move on to the next section and add all the text for the links. Okay, so what I'd said before and how each of these three columns are going to be a flexbox child element. The middle flexbox, or I'm sorry, the middle link column is going to also be its own flexbox parent and have children in these little columns of links. So let's just copy the link copy first. So it's Philo, company, support. So Philo, company, and support. Just copy that. And then we're just going to copy everything here, and now we're going to create these HTML elements that they're each going to live in. Jess Corinne Sorry, I hope I'm not butchering your name, but you're asking, is there any advantage of loading the icons as background images instead of image tags? I personally like background images because there's a lot more control, especially over the sizing and stuff when you're designing something for a responsive site. For example, for background, you can sort of align the background image inside the div that it's in different ways. Like you can center it in the center, you can center it, top vertically and then center horizontally or left and right. And it can, if you set something like background size equals cover, then even when it changes, it will always be sized correctly and it won't like get skewed or something. With images, that can work too. You can make images be responsive, obviously, in an image tag, but it can be it's a little less forgiving. Let's say you make a website and you have a CMS and you need the images to be a specific size. Like they all need to be square or a certain rectangle aspect ratio. And then you have your client who's, managing the content and they're just like adding any kind of different size image. And then that will kind of mess up your design. Whereas if you use a background image, you can make sure that you can set the div that is containing the background image to that size that you need it to be. And then it'll automatically sort of position and size the image within that div. So I personally like using background images. But I think one advantage of using actual image tags is they have that alt field, and that's a little better for accessibility. But I think there are probably other options for adding information, like accessible information for background images, but I'm honestly not too familiar with that. But anyway, hope that answers your question. That was a bit long. So okay, we need to add our little child columns here. So we'll just do another div. We'll call this Philo. And then we'll do another one, div class company. And then we'll do the last one, div class support. So we're not being super creative with our naming here. Just kind of naming it like it is. Cool. And then I do need to, I believe, style the categories a bit different. Yeah, it looks like they're bold and also a bit bigger than the links themselves. So there's maybe infinite different ways you can do this. I could do a header tag, do like that. Or I could just add a div with like, footer links title. Maybe that's a little more descriptive. But, it is kind of whatever you sort of makes sense for you. The only problem with reusing this header tag is that I kind of already added some styles here, position relative and background color, and that was for the actual like header of the site, like the nav bar. So I think what I'm going to do is just do div class footer title or footer links title. There we go. So we'll just take that and we'll just copy it a couple times. Actually, I'll do this. And we'll just replace the content. Okay. And then, since each of these things are links, we just need to add a whole bunch of anchor links. Again, we'll just kind of make them empty links. There's 4. Oops. So I'll just move these in here. Oh, why is that not working? Okay, what's going on? It's not. There we go. Nonamo is asking, you only need an extension to use SAS on VS Code. Actually, yeah, that's something that I recently found out about. There's like a VS Code extension that you can, it'll just like compile your SAS for you, which is pretty awesome. Okay, I don't think I have time to look at that right now, but yeah, I've heard about that. I haven't tried it yet, but I mean, I'm sure it works. Yeah, it's all just, you know, whatever sort of works for your workflow, you know, / what's easiest for you. There is a little bit of a learning curve if you're using like Webpack or Gulp to compile your files. So having that extension in VS Code is like super helpful, that you can just kind of get up and running when you're, you know, before you learn any of those web bundler things. So yeah, I think that's awesome. I think there's a lot about VS Code that I just haven't like learned about yet, but it's pretty cool. So yeah, we're just kind of quickly creating these little anchor links and adding our footer links in there. There we go. And then the last one. Yeah, there's a lot of tools that I think can kind of make your workflow more quick. Like I've heard of Emmet. That's like it's like a little, I don't know if you'd call it a plugin, but I know that Brad Traversy uses it. He's on YouTube if you haven't seen him. He does he's kind of like the godfather of like coding tutorials. And he uses Emmet a lot, I've noticed in his tutorials, where you can just sort of type something and it will kind of generate the HTML code that you need without you having to manually type everything out or copy and paste. So super helpful. But yeah, I need to like figure all that out so I can sort of optimize my coding process. Oh, thanks for joining Ratcom, Katie, and Izikijan. Sorry. Sublime. McCaffrey. I haven't really used Sublime in a long time, but it's a perfectly good code editor. I don't know too much about if they have plugins and stuff like VS Code. I'm not really sure. You might have to just kind of, you know, Google around, look for like Sublime SAS, and just see if they have plugins and stuff. But I feel like they do have plugins because I think I remember hearing about them. Yeah, sorry, I can't. That wasn't a very helpful answer, but yeah, I think you might be able to find that kind of looking online. Do I find one extra monitor enough? I'm happy with 2 screens. Sometimes a 3rd screen might be nice, but I feel like at that point it's taking up a lot of space on my desk, and maybe it's really just that 3rd screen would just be used for, I don't know, watching YouTube videos or something while I'm working. So it's not strictly necessary, but it might be nice to like someday have like my code on one screen, the design file on the other screen, and then the output, like the website, on the 3rd screen. That might be actually nice. So maybe someday. #setup goals. But yeah, right now I'm pretty happy with 2 screens. It pretty much does everything that I want it to. Okay, so we just added these links here. So in that last thing, we're going to add a form. And we're not going to do like any of the functional part of the form. We're really just kind of making the front end, and then you'd assume that later on you'd wire up the functionality. So let's just see what we did back up in the sign up form. Yeah, we'll just kind of copy this because I think it's the same. It's just the email and the submit button. Yeah, it's just email and submit button. And then there's a little copy there. So we'll copy that, go down to here. And then, you know, there is some content. So I'll just add a p tag. Copy this text. Cool. All right. So I think that's pretty good. The next thing that I usually like to do is sort of build out my SAS file and add all the classes and elements and stuff. And then after that's all done, then I'll go through one by one and add the actual styles. So this is the footer. One thing I do want to do is add a class of footer. I know this looks really like unnecessary because it's just like it's already the footer element and you added a class of footer to it. Like, why is that necessary? But I'll show you why I do that. So let's make a new Sass file for footer, and then we also don't want to forget to add it in our regular style.sass file. So here we go. Okay, so let's see if I can fit this all in one screen. What I want to do is have my markup open on one side and then my Sass open on the other side. I think that's okay. That's pretty readable, right? Okay, so the reason that I wanted to add a class of footer to the actual footer element is because in Sass, you can do this thing where you nest. So you notice that I already had these other elements that have classes of like underscore underscore triangle. So now to add that, I just have to add an ampersand and 2 underscores. And it'll, oh, yes, it's very smart. So I can just go down the line and do that for everything. So it's footer triangle, footer content, footer contact. And then in contact, we got a logo class and a phone class and an email class. Then after contact, we got footer links. And then in there, we also have those little sections, footer links, and then we have the class for footer links title. So this is why Sass, like, it'll save you so much time. And then I think we probably need to add some styles for just like the anchor links. So we'll do that. So it was Philo, company, and support. Okay. And then footer form. Okay. And then in the form, we have a paragraph tag. So we'll just add that in there. Because I don't think the paragraph tag is used anywhere else in the footer. Yeah. So we'll just leave it there. If there were multiple paragraph tags, like if some of the other elements had these little intro blurbs, then I would take the paragraph tag styles out of the form element and just put it directly in like the footer as its parent. So then all the different columns could use that. For learning Sass, let me just show you, let's see. SassLang.com is really good. CSS with superpowers, and then they have a link to learn Sass. This is super helpful. Yeah, Jonas Schmedman, Advanced CSS and Sass. So this is if you already kind of know CSS basics, and then he will teach you all these more advanced topics like Flexbox and Grid, responsive design. I haven't taken this class myself, but I've heard really good things about this guy, and I've thought about just kind of taking it just to see like what he talks about and, you know, see how he does stuff. So yeah, that, you know, if you do that, and even if you just read the documentation on the SassLang.com, like it'll help you with stuff. So where were we? Let's see. Yeah, I hope that helps. Yeah, Sass is like once you learn Sass, I promise you'll like never go back to writing CSS because it'll improve your life so much. Oh yeah, so we finished all the p tag stuff, and then I'll have to check to see where these form styles are coming from because we have this form down here. So looks like everything is in this sign up form. All the styles are in the sign up form like class. You can see that all the markup that I added has been added, but yeah, I might need to move some of this stuff out, but I think maybe we'll just wait until we get to that section in the design. So, yeah, we'll just go from the top down. So we need to start with the triangle first, my favorite part. Let's see, so go footer triangle, and then the way we did the triangle part up there is we added a pseudo element, so we're going to do the same thing here. So we'll go up to footer triangle, and then we'll add a pseudo element. We'll just say before. You could use either before or after, but I'm doing before. And then content. Any pseudo element needs to have a content property set, even if it's just blank. You do blank by doing 2 quotes. If it doesn't have it, then it just like won't even exist on the website. So we'll do before content, and then let's just see what we did with the previous triangle. I'm just trying to see if it's the same angle. Okay, so it's actually, this bottom triangle part is actually purple, and then the top part is white. So it's sort of reverse of the other one. So we'll just do it from scratch. I think that's okay. So let's just make the triangle pseudo element this purple color. I think it's just a solid purple. 07043B. Okay, it's the same. I'm using this program called OpenView to view all the images. And if you hold down anywhere, it'll, I don't know if you can see up at the top, but it sort of tells you the hex color. So it has like this automatic color picker built in, which is super helpful. So I'm just checking to see if there's a gradient, and there's not, which is, it makes it a bit easier, I guess. But if there was, we could just make the triangle element like the white part, and then it would be over the purple background. So let's just make the triangle white, and we'll do it like that. So background color, I think I had it, yeah, so I had white as a variable. Background color is white. Width, probably 100%. Height, let's just see, how tall is it? So it's roughly 144. Let's just do 150. And then I don't know if I need position absolute. It might be okay without it. Let's just see how that looks right now. Ooh, it's like way up there. I think I do need to add some CSS. I'm just doing this to test. Position relative for the parent element, which is footer triangle. Then we'll make the child element, the pseudo element, position absolute. Okay, so it looks like something moved down there. So, okay, now we can see it is sort of in the right place. So we'll just add that to our CSS. Position relative for the triangle. Then we'll do position absolute for the pseudo element. And this is just what I do when I'm testing, but just to see stuff more clearly, I'll just add a border. So now you can see this is where that div is. Okay, cool. And I think what I want to do is now, we'll just do, again, some more testing just in the browser. Transform, let's try rotate. Oops, rotate, and then you set like whatever degree you want. Let's just say 30 degrees. That's way too much. Look, it's been a long time since I was in a geometry class, so I think we just want to increase the width so it'll like, you won't be able to see the corners. And then we'll do left. We'll just kind of go like that. This is sort of, you know, it's sort of inexact, but we just kind of want it to work. Let me actually double check what the degree is on this triangle up here. Features triangle, because I just want to match it. Looks like I did a rotate of 8 degrees, and then, okay, I was just using translate X and Y to sort of move it up and down on the screen. So rotate of 8 degrees, which is much less than I have here. So let's do the same degree so that their angled edges will be parallel. That was pretty close. That was 10 degrees. Okay. So let's see where that white triangle sort of starts. So it kind of starts below that form. Let's just get an estimate of how many pixels below the form it is. So this is another thing that I use a lot in OpenView. I just like, you can just draw boxes and it'll tell you how big they are. And it's a really nice way to estimate, you know, margins and paddings and stuff like that. So if you don't have like the original sketch file or Adobe file, then this is a good way to like help sort of eyeball it. So it looks like it's about 100 pixels below the form. So, because right now you can see how it's angled, it's like above, which we don't really want. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use, I think, another transform and make it so this point on the left is 100 pixels under the form. So it's a little hard to estimate that because the footer triangle itself is like above where the actual div starts. So let's just kind of eyeball this and add another transform parameter. So we'll do translate y. Oops. And then we'll just start with 0 pixels. So what I want to do is I'm going to add a border to this element too, just so we can kind of eyeball things better. 1 pixel solid blue. So you can see that this is going up above the main element. So we're just going to move it down. Okay, so now we got our element, which is starting where the left corner is starting where the parent element is. So I think another thing we want to do is maybe I'll add a top padding to the footer of 100 pixels so we have that distance. Okay, so now you see the footer starts there, but then 100 pixels below that is where the triangle starts. And I'm going to have to remember to add all the CSS into my files before it gets reloaded by parcel, and then I lose everything. So let's just start from there. So footer has a padding top of 100 pixels. And again, this is for desktop. We'll probably have to tweak it when we do the mobile design. But for now, I just kind of want it to work. Yeah, we'll just add that in there. Oh crap, I saved. It's fine. So footer triangle before, what was that? That was a transform of rotate 8 degrees, I believe. And then we did a translate Y of, I don't remember how much, but let's just say 100 pixels. So, okay, that's okay. Let's also do a translate X to move it like maybe 100 pixels to the left. Okay, that's a little too much. Let's try 10 pixels. Okay, 10 pixels is good. Let's just copy that. All right. Okay, that looks better. Cool. Thank you for the follow, iMac user. Oh, hi Costa City. Thanks for joining us again. Yeah, I appreciate all of you sort of supporting this channel and watching me code websites. So I think I need to make the width a little bit more because of the angle. It needs to be more than 100. So let's just do 120. Okay, so that looks pretty good-ish. Let's just bring it up a little bit because it's not quite hitting that corner on the left there. Okay. This is one thing that I've sort of noticed about Firefox, which I hate to say because I'm trying to not use Chrome, but sometimes it doesn't refresh stuff when I'm changing the styles, and it kind of bugs me a little bit. Let's just try 90. Let's go back and check on this triangle. Here we go, footer triangle. Yeah, I just want to bring it up just a little bit. Why is it not working? Wait, I think I know why. It needs to be all in one line. Otherwise, Firefox doesn't like that. So translate Y is 87 pixels. Okay, so that is good. wait a minute, I think I might have did this wrong. Oh, that's right. So the white part is going to be like that, going up to the left. But this part is supposed to be white also. So I think actually what I did was I added the padding on the footer element, but I think I actually want to add the padding as a bottom padding to the sign up wrapper. So we're going to get rid of this padding top of 100. And then we're going to add a padding bottom of 100 to the sign up wrapper. And then we'll have the same sort of effect, but wait, I think this through here. Oh, okay, I think I know what I need to do. I need to make, I don't have to move the padding, but I need to make this part of the triangle on like the right. I don't know if you can see that, but I need to make that white and then make under the angle, make that purple. So let's add a height element to, or a height property to this. So let's say 200 pixels. Okay, so that's good. So this is kind of what we want. This is just a little bit too tall, so let's try to reduce that a bit. And again, we might need to, I think 150 is good. So we're going to add a height aspect to the footer triangle. Sorry, I feel like I'm not explaining this very well. Height is 150. Okay. And I think what we really need to do is like, yeah, we're going to add this purple background color to the footer content so we can see more closely what this really should look like. Okay, let's get that purple color. 07043B. And then I have my colors in their own little SAS file here. 07043B. That doesn't look like it's used right now. Let's do medium dark purple. 07043B. Is that right? That looks rightish. And we'll copy this variable and we'll put it in the footer content. Background color, this medium dark purple. Okay, so now we see a little bit more closely what this should look like. And we still have the 100 pixels between the form and the top of the footer triangle element, which is good. We'll move all this stuff down later, like it's fine. Yeah, so I guess we can add a padding top to footer content too. Let's try another 100 pixels. We'll tweak that later, but for now, we just want to make sure the content's sort of under there, so maybe a little bit more. Again, 150. So let's try that. So that was footer content. Okay, and let's get rid of these borders for now. We'll just comment them out. So we can see what it actually... Did I add... No, I didn't add extra padding there yet. Oh, it must be because... Why did I do that? Oh, because the footer triangle has it like that. So actually I want to move this up so it's like... Yes, I think I just need to get rid of this padding top. That's already 150 pixels high. I think actually it could be less. No, that will mess up stuff. I could get rid of some of the bottom padding here. So let's try, instead of 52 pixels at the bottom, let's try 0. So then that gets rid of, so then it's more close to 100. Okay, we'll do that for the sign up. Sign up wrapper will have this padding. So let's open the sign up SAS file. See, I love having different files because I know exactly where to find, you know, what I want to change. So I believe it was here. And then I may need to tweak that for like responsive stuff. Oh yeah, then I wanted to get rid of that top padding that I had added to the footer. So let's get rid of that. Okay, that looks much closer to what the design's supposed to be. So, okay, good. Okay, the next thing I want to do is, let's just make those font colors a bit better. It looks like the header ones are white, and then the other text is like that light purple color, which I think I already have already. Maybe that's the soft blue color. Yeah, it kind of looks like that. Let me see where else I used that. Used it in the header. Oh, it was part of the gradient. Not sure if that's the right color. Let's just use that color picker again and see what color it actually is. Here we go. It does actually sort of look white, huh? It's just not bold. It's hard to tell. Yeah, I know this is very, very exact. I think it's white, but it's just not bold, so it looked a bit like it was purple. I think it would make sense for it to be white, though. Cool. But yeah, if any of you have questions on like why I'm doing something or how to do something, feel free to post it in the chat, and I will do my best to explain how I guess I would do it. Let's see where. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. I want to go back to the index. There we go. Okay, so we got the regular markup down. I wanted to add some styles to make all these links white. So what we're going to do is try to add sort of a kind of a global type style. So we'll say all links are going to be white. And then when it gets reloaded, then you can see everything more clearly. And I think actually let's do the same thing with P, because we know that we have that one P tag down there. Okay, cool. So we got all of the regular content in. I think before I sort of fine tune each section, what I want to do is make sure I have the responsive styles correctly set. So we're going to use some Flexbox stuff and make sure that the columns are side by side on desktop and then stack on mobile. And then also that the order is correct for mobile and desktop, because you can see on mobile, for those of you who weren't here earlier, it was on mobile, logo, content, or contact rather, form, and links. And then on desktop, the links are second and the form's third. So Flexbox has a very easy way of handling that, which is awesome, because before Flexbox, the only thing you'd really be able to do is two hacky solutions. One would be adding duplicate HTML content so that you'd have two copies of the links and the form each, and then you would just sort of add a class to hide or show them based on what your width was, and that would work, but you have duplicate markup, which is not super efficient. The other way would be, I guess, to use JavaScript, and this would also be pretty hacky, but you would check the device width and then sort of move the content around dynamically using JavaScript, but also not the best thing. So I think Flexbox, just being able to control the order right then and there is like awesome. Okay, so let's go into the footer content stuff. And what we're going to do is we're going to make each of these footer contact, links, and form a Flexbox child. And footer content will be the Flexbox parent. So, a lot of the time when I'm doing something that's like side by side on desktop and stacked on mobile, I'll just add the display flex property in a media query for desktop. But I guess I could do that still. I was just thinking about like controlling the order, because if I lose the Flexbox on mobile, then it won't take the order property. But I think what I should do, the most efficient way, would be to write the markup in the order that it is on mobile, have that just be stacked. Then on desktop, I will turn it into a Flexbox parent and then change the order on desktop from what it is on mobile. So let's do that. So on mobile, it is the contact, the form, and links. So I think I need to change what I had the markup order as, because I was kind of going off the desktop style. So yeah, so I want on mobile, links are last. So we'll move this footer links element to the bottom. Oops. Oh, yeah, we'll add that space there. And then just because I like to over comment my code, we'll just say links, footer links. Why not? Footer links, footer form, and then footer contact. Yeah, I think, I think a little space goes a long way. Just being able to sort of parse the HTML when you're going back and looking at stuff. So I do like to add some spaces. Looks like did I add too many indents? Is that an extra div? No, it's okay. I think all this just got indented one too many for some reason. Anyway. Okay. So we got footer contact, form, and links. And then just because I want to do this, I'm going to change the order in the SAS files too, so it can match the markup. And that's just, I don't know. I just like the things to be consistent. Okay, so again, we're going to make footer content a display flex. Have the display flex property. That'll turn it into flexbox. I'm sorry, we're going to do that for desktop. So media, and then we'll use some of these sort of custom media query things that I added. Let me just show you them really quick. I think it's in global. Is that right? Oh yeah, here we go. So I'll move it over here. So yeah, I just used these SAS variables for my media query, so I can just quickly type them in. And I don't have to keep typing, screen and min width 1,000 pixels every time. So that's that. Let's see. Then this is when we'll make it display flex. So for desktop widths. So since we're gonna sort of do the mobile stuff first, let's emulate the mobile device using Firefox. Okay. Okay, so this is stacked the way we want for mobile. I think maybe it doesn't look great, but let's just concentrate on making the order correct. So we got our contact stuff here, we got our form, got links down below. So since we add this display flex property for desktop, we're going to change the order so that the links are in the middle for desktop. And how do we do that? Let's see. So footer contact, footer form, footer links. So what we're going to do is we're just going to copy this media query, and then for each of these we'll add order is 1 for the contact section. This is on desktop. And then for the links, that's what we want to be second on desktop. So we'll change the order down there to 2. And then form is going to be the last on desktop. So let's check that out. Okay, so form's last, links are in the middle, which is good. And then you can see as we go less than 1,000 pixels, it changed. So the form is second and the links are third. So that's pretty good. Okay, now let's make this look a little better. I think the first thing I might actually do is add some padding. So that you can kind of see there's a uniform padding on the left and right for all of this. And that's about 47 to 50 pixels on both left and right side. And that's good. And it looks like it's about, for the top and bottom, about 110 on the bottom, and then 120 on the top. We can sort of eyeball that later. So we're going to go back down to our mobile size here. And let me see where I had sort of added the padding earlier. Okay, so there's a wrapper class that has a padding of 25 pixels. So what I want to do is I need to add that wrapper class to somewhere in the footer, maybe footer content wrapper. Okay, so adding that helper class, which it'll add a 25 pixel padding all around, which is kind of the easiest way to do that. So let's just make sure we have that up here in the footer content section. Add that wrapper class. So you can see it already looks better, even though we haven't styled any of this stuff. Like just having this going all the way to the edge, that just sort of screams like you haven't done a great job. But just adding some padding, it just gives everything a bit more space so you can breathe better. Okay, so let us go down the line. So let's make sure this logo image is sized correctly. I'll go a little bit more narrow to sort of emulate the actual device. So this logo, Zen18K, thanks so much for the follow. Cool. Okay, so this is about, let's say 160 by 55 pixels in size. So right now it is 80 by 35. Looks like the SVG, okay, that's fine. So you can see here that in the logo helper class, we had a size set of 80 and 35. But in the footer, the logo is supposed to be bigger. You know, it's supposed to be 162 by 55. So we want to keep all the global logo styles in the footer, but we want to just change that size up. So what we could do is, so this logo lives in the footer contact section. So let's go back to our footer SAS file, and we'll go to the footer contact section, and then the logo. So then what we could do here is width 62 pixels, height 55 pixels. And this will kind of override the, so you can see in the code inspector, it has that global width and height set, but they're overridden by the CSS that I added in the footer contact logo file. And this overrides it because it's more specific. This is just for the width of 80 and 35, width of 80 and height of 35 is just for any div that has a class of logo. Whereas I overrode that with the more specific style in the footer contact section. So yeah, knowing how to sort of work with that specificity part will really help you. And let's see. Okay, so logo sized correctly. Here, let's make it 100%, so then it's really more close to what the website is. Okay, so under the logo image, it's going to be about 55 pixels also. So we'll just add that to the same place that we added this custom width and height. So we'll do margin bottom 55 pixels. So then we add space here. Okay, next thing we want to do is we want to add the icons, also do the font. So maybe we'll do the font first for these two links. Then we'll add those little phone and email icons. So let's just kind of guess what we think this is. Font size, right now it's probably 16 because that's sort of the default font over there. 14 looks pretty good. 14 looks good. Let's keep it at 14. I don't like going smaller than like 14 pixels because it really affects your readability. Okay, so here's another good way you can sort of set your styles. So we know that in this footer contact section, we have these two links, phone and email, and they're styled very similarly. The only difference is the actual content of the text, of course, and then the icons are different. But everything else is the same. They're the same font size. The icons look like they're the same width. So one thing you can do to sort of add a style that will affect both the phone and the email elements is do class phone and then class email. But you're using a comma, so then any styles you use will affect both of these elements. Then below that, you add the more specific CSS styles for each of the phone and the email elements that is different from the other one. So we'll do font size 14. I think actually I've been using rems, so let's try, I think 14 is maybe 1.9 or 0.9 rems. Let's just see what that ended up being. Where are we here? Font size is 14.4. Well, maybe 8.5. 13.6. I'll just go with 0.9. That's good enough for me. And you're kind of erring on the side of like more readability versus less. Okay. The other thing we want to do is we want these to not be side by side, because by default, anchor links are going to be display inline, which means if you don't add like a line break or anything like that, they'll just kind of be side by side. And that's not what we want. We want them to be on each of them to be on a separate line. So one way to do that is, we'll do it in the same place here. We want to do display block. So now you can see that they are on different lines. The phone's on its own line, email's on the same line, on a different line. So that is good. So before it was inline, which is why it was next to each other. Then you also have inline block, which is kind of a hybrid between display block and display inline, where you can see they're still on the same line, but you can like, you have a little more control over like height and width and stuff. You could like set them to have static heights and widths, and you can't do that with display inline. But we want display block. We also want to add a little space between them. We can tweak this later, but let's just kind of eyeball this for now. So it's about 24 pixels. So I will just add a margin bottom. Where should I add it? I guess I could add it to, you can go either way. I could add it to both of these, or I could add it to just the phone one. We'll just add it to just the phone one. What did I say? 24, I think. 24 pixels. Okay, so now you can see there's some nice little space there. Then I'm just gonna, I like adding space because I feel like that makes things look less cluttered while you're sort of fine tuning like the font sizes and stuff. And then under this contact section, it's about 88 pixels of space. So in footer contact, I'm going to add 88 pixels for padding bottom on the contact. Okay, so now all the contact stuff is sort of set apart from everything else, which is good. So we're not going to worry about this bottom stuff yet. We're just going to finish the contact info stuff. Okay, what we're going to do is add the icon files as background images, as we mentioned earlier. Then I'm going to add a left padding to each of these links. So let's add the left padding first. It's about 40 maybe? Let's say 40 for each of those links. Okay, so now you can see it's kind of, there's that extra space over there, and that's going to be where we put our logo. Okay, so let's add the one for phone. So we're going to do this with a pseudo element again, before. And what we want to do is add a background image property. And then we need to get that image for the phone. I don't know if I copied it over yet. Let's see. Oh yeah, I did. Icon email and icon phone SVG, so perfect. Here, let's just move that back over here. We don't really need the sign up one anymore. So URL would be dist image icon phone SVG. And we're going to do the same thing for the email, except it's going to be the email icon, obviously. Okay, let's see how that looks. Did anything change? I think I may need to add some height and width to that. Oh yeah. So let's see how big these icons actually are. So the phone icon is about let's say 20 by 20. And the email icon is about, I'm assuming it's also 20 pixels wide. So it's about 20 by 20 also. So what we're going to do is, again, we can add the style so that it'll affect both of them. So I'm actually going to move this up there. Oops, that's not what I wanted. Content is empty. And then width is, let's say 20 pixels for both width and height. And then background size is contain. Background position is, let's do left center. Did I forget something? I think I forgot a display block. Display block. Oh, and also this is going to be position relative up here. And then the pseudo element is going to be position absolute. Actually, I think I just thought of a better way to do this. So, okay, yeah, the icons are showing up. I'm going to add the background image property to the actual phone and email elements, not the pseudo elements. And I think that'll actually work with like less, you know, CSS styles and stuff. I think this will work. Oops. Okay, so it is working. Okay, so I think this will work. I'm just going to delete this. Hopefully I won't regret doing that. What we want to do is background repeat. No repeat, because by default it'll sort of tile. So okay, now there's just one, which is perfect. And then just for the sake of it, we're just going to do background position. Let's just use center. Oh no, left center, because we want it to be on the left side of the element. Okay. Oh, I lost my margin. What happened? Did I delete that? I must have deleted that. Margin bottom, I forgot what I said, 24 pixels, was it? Okay. That's what happens when you're coding too fast. You get sloppy. Okay, that's pretty good. I mean, I'm pretty happy with that. I think that's close enough to the design. Cool. So we got that going for us. And then let's just move on and do the form now. So if you remember, we had this other form up here, and I do want to take a lot of the styles from there. I mean, at least the button. And then we want the input to be, you know, white, not like this default stuff here. So the thing is, this form, the styles were set on the sign up form file. So let's go back to that. So sign up form, yada yada. I don't think I need to worry about the form element itself. Max width was set to how much? 630. Yeah, this is just different. It's 363 pixels. So what I want to do right now is I want to move these form styles out of the specific sign up content, like sign up style parent, and I'm going to move it into like a global style. So what I think I'm going to do is in global, I want to, here, let's move this over so we can see both of them at the same time. So what I'm going to do in global is I'm just going to create a form element. And then I'm going to copy all this. I guess this isn't being used. I'm going to copy all these styles here for the input submit and then the input text box. There we go. Oh, what happened? I didn't copy the email. Okay, so now we have all the form styles are set globally. Let's just make sure that that form doesn't get affected. Okay, looks the same. And now you can see that this form down in the footer looks a lot better because it's already inheriting the styles from the global form styles. So let's see. So that's pretty good. I think I am going to move some of this stuff. Or do I need to? I think maybe I'll just leave this there because I'll move the margin. Well, no, I'm just gonna leave this as sign up specific ones. I got a message. Anyway, yeah, so now the footer form has inherited the global form styles, which is what we want. It does look slightly different. It looks like there's more of a border radius on this, and also it doesn't have that box shadow that the sign up one did. So maybe we'll just take those out of the global stuff, and I'm just going to add that back into the sign up specific one. Yes, there. So now there's not going to be a box shadow on this on the footer one. Okay, that looks better. Let's just go back and start with a text section here. So it looks like it is text centered. The receive updates copy. Let's just check. Okay, it looks like it's left aligned on desktop, so we'll worry about that later. Right now we need to make that font size a bit bigger. So let's just see what 16 looks like. I think that looks okay. And the text line is center. Okay. Okay, so that looks pretty close. Okay, so let's just do that. We'll copy these styles for the footer form p tag. And then there's a bit of space under that paragraph into the form. That's about 50, let's say 55 pixels, because that seems to be happening a lot. So we'll just add a margin bottom to that p tag style. 55 pixels. Oops, did I not copy stuff? Oh, I added it to the sign up one. Let's close that so we don't confuse ourselves again. this is here. There we go. There we go. Okay. Looks like, how is this designed? So the button's actually under the text box on mobile and also on desktop. So we may need to move some more of those styles out of the global stuff. Oh yeah, this was a flex thing. We need to get, I think we need to get rid of that. Yeah, because it's display flex on the sign up form, but nowhere else. Okay. And we'll add this media query and then move that other flex related property out of there too. Oops. Cool. And I think we want to do the same thing with this submit element. Get the flex stuff out of there, and we'll get this media query added, and then get this flex one out of there too. Okay, so let's see if that made much of a difference here. Okay, I think it didn't because it's display inline block. So I think what we're going to have to do is make the button display block, and then also set this width to be 160, because right now it's inline block. So let's go to footer. Excuse me. It's allergy season. Okay, so let's just add some styles for the input type email, just because I think we're going to need that. And then the input type submit as well. Okay. Now, okay, so the submit button was inline block. So first thing we're going to do is do display block. Now I'll put it on its own line, and let me just show you what that looks like right now. Cool, it's on its own line. Is there like a max width thing set on this? Weird. I was sort of expecting it to go like all the way across, because that's what display block elements usually do. Yeah, there's no width set. That's interesting. Okay, well, we don't need to worry about that too much. Let's just add the padding that we want. So it looks like it's about, let's do this thing here. What is that? About 60 on the left and right. Also, it looks like the font size is a bit smaller in the design than it is down there. What's the font size right now? 20 pixels. Yeah, I think it's a bit smaller than that. Let's try 16 pixels or 1 rem. Let's see how that compares. That's pretty good. And then padding, or we'll do, what's the current padding? 11 pixels on top and bottom. And right now it's 15 pixels on left and right, but we want to be, I believe it was 60 or so. So that looks better already. Okay. So that's in the submit style. Cool. All right. And it looks like on mobile, the text box is going to be about 100% of the width. It'll go all the way across. And it looks like it's also a bit smaller than what we had on that other form. So the height of this, so it's 280 and that's fine. And then 46 pixels for height. So, and I think the font size is smaller too. I'm just guessing. Font size is 1 rem. We'll keep it as 1 rem. Let's try width of 100%. Cool. And then border radius, maybe 3 pixels, because it's a bit rounded. So we can see here. Yeah, 3 pixels is okay. Height, or what did we say? Crap, I keep doing that. Height was about 46 pixels, so we'll adjust that with the padding. So right now it's 49 pixels, so we'll just take a little bit of padding away. Let's do 13 and 40. Actually, I don't think it needs that much padding on the left and right. It's like a little too much. Let's just do 25. Okay, let's copy this over. So this is the input type email. All right. Hey, that looks pretty good, right? Right? Cool. Oh, the button is actually aligned to the right. So, how do we want to do that? We could do a couple ways. We could do float right. We could also do position absolute and right of 0, or actually right of 25 because that's what the padding is. Or we could do make this a make it flexbox for mobile too. And then let's get rid of this. And then flex direction is a column because we want everything to be in columns. And then flex, what is it, justify content would be flex end. So it's at the, oh, wait a minute. If it's a column, I think it actually might need to be align items. There we go. So let's just use Flexbox just because we want it to be flexed for desktop too. So this is for the form element itself. Footer form. So we're going to add this form here. So I'm sorry, I was thinking that this was the whole form element, but it's just the form. So I think the form looks similar on desktop and mobile. So yeah, so we can just add these flexbox styles for everything. And what was it? Flex direction, I think, in columns, because we want it to be in columns, and then align items and flex end to be on the right side. Okay. Is that right? Is that everything? Looks like it's working. Yeah, cool. Now let's see how it looks on desktop. Okay, so the order is okay. You can see this is getting really big. So we'll style that, when we kind of get to it, but we might want to add a max width for this element. Like this is 362 pixels wide, and then on mobile it is less than that. It's less than 300. So I think if we had a max width of 362 to this footer form element, I think that might sort of help things a little bit. Max width 362. Okay. So then we can figure that out when we do the desktop styles, but yeah. So now at least it's like, not going to go like super wide. So that looks, I think that section looks pretty good. Yeah, a little narrower like that. Okay, now let's add some margin bottom to this footer form as well to add more space. So it's going to be 85 pixels. So we'll add a margin bottom of 85 to the footer form. Oops. There we go. Cool. Weird, why these links aren't showing up? Or the link like headers? Oh, there it is. It's just not like, okay, it is there. It just is the wrong color. So I want everything to be white. So I'm actually going to try this asterisk, which I think will work. Yeah, there we go. So this just means that every element, including A and P, would be white. I wonder if I get rid of that, if it would still work. Oh, I guess so. Huh. Sorry, guys. I get pretty bad allergies. I'm actually taking allergy drops for seasonal allergies and other stuff. Cool. So let's just style these links section. So it looks like the title was font weight bold and a bit bigger. Looks like actually these links are a bit smaller than what they are right now. Yeah, it looks like they're almost like maybe 12 or 13 pixels. So we'll leave the categories as they are in terms of font size, but then we'll just make them bold. Let's go into links. So here's the title element. There, you can see him now. Font weight 700, which is bold. Okay, cool. And it looks like there's a bit of a margin bottom. Make that about 24 pixels. So okay. Now we also want each of these links to be on their own line, but let's make the font size smaller. Maybe 0.75 rems. Let's see how that looks. Man, that's small. 12 pixels. I'm going to go 0.8 just because I like to err on the side of readability. Yeah, 0.8 is better, I believe. And then we want them to be on their own line, so we'll go display block for all of those. Cool. And then for the space stuff, we can do margin bottom. You could also do a line height. So like instead of saying margin bottom, I don't know, 10 pixels. You could also do line height 2 rems. And that would also add space. So it's kind of, we might do that just because for mobile it sort of increases the clickable area. Let's see if 2 rems is okay. Maybe a little bit less than that. Let's try 1.8 rems. That looks pretty good. Yeah, 1.8 rems. So we'll get rid of this margin bottom thing. So the font size is 0.8 rems and line height is 1.8 rems. Cool. Okay. Then we want to what I think I want to do is for each of these divs in the footer links, I want to add, a margin bottom to have space. So that's going to be about 56 pixels. So I think what I can do is do a child selector for div. So it doesn't matter what class it is. 56 pixels. Let's see how that works. Cool. Yeah, so this is one of those selectors that you can use in CSS. It's not a Sass specific thing, but this caret or bracket, whatever, means just a direct child of the footer links element. So if I added it for all the divs, then without this selector, then it would also affect any other div that's a descendant of the link. So not just direct children, but like grandchildren and etc. So then you can see how it also added that margin bottom to the title, which is not what I want. I only want it to affect the direct children. So that's what that selector is used for. It's pretty handy. Okay, guys, this is looking pretty good. Yeah, this is pretty close to the, I think the line height needs to be increased a bit on this one, but it looks really close to the design. Line height, maybe 1.2 rems. Let's try 1.5 rems. That's good enough for me. So footer form P. There we go. Cool. Is this, I don't know if that's right. That looks wrong. I don't remember if this is something that I just added right now or what. Oh, it's because the wrapper padding is too much. Oh, it's a sign up wrapper. I see. So I think on mobile it really should be 25 pixels, just kind of across the board. Yeah. So sign up element, we will, this padding's too much. I think actually if I just add it in the media query, then that'll look better. Yeah. Okay. Oh no, our triangle's not working. Okay, let's work on that. But yeah, this footer's done pretty good. Okay, so yeah, you can see that it's sort of, let me add that border back onto it. We just need to make it a little bit more responsive. We'll just add both the borders. Yeah, so you can see everything looks pretty good down here. Actually, that might be a little too much space. Yeah, so let's start with the mobile device width and sort of adjust the CSS so it looks better. So the footer triangle itself is fine. It's kind of a step, just sort of placed right below the form. What we want to do is adjust this transform property. So let's try to tweak that a bit. First of all, let's translate Y. I'm going to try 0%. Let's try, oh, I just want to see if like percentages might work a little bit better for these. I'm just sort of curious. It's actually not bad. I think I'm going to leave that because if I do translate Y of, what was it, 87 pixels, and then I kind of move it up to where I want it to be for mobile, it might kind of mess up. Yeah, it's messing up quicker. Whereas for percentage, because it takes a percentage of the width, it's a little bit more forgiving. So I won't have to tweak as much when it goes to different widths. So let's change that translate Y to 19%. Let's also add a percentage for that. So it's going to be, we're going to keep the rotation at 8 degrees because we want that to be the same, but we're just using percentages for these transform properties. Cool. I'm just going to keep the borders in there. Okay, this is already breaking. I'll make the translate Y 29%. Yeah, this is just a lot of trial and error when you're doing responsive stuff. You do need to make sure that you check every width. Okay, so that looks pretty good for mobile and tablet. So you can see here is where it starts to break a little bit, but we're at 669 pixels right now. So where does it start to break? It starts to break around here, which is about 529. So if I add another media query for 500 pixels and up, that should sort of take care of that. So I'll also add another one up here, 500, 500. So we'll go back to where we set that triangle stuff here. And then add our 500 and up media query. And we'll adjust this thing here. So starting from 500, what do we want it to be? Let's see. So we want to move it down a little bit. So we're going to increase this to maybe 49, maybe 50, 52. Let's try 55. Okay, so above that it's going to be 555. There we go. So now you can see it right now. Okay, so it is using at 55, above 500, and then once we get below 500, it's at translate Y is at 29%. So looks okay. And then we just want to see the next point at which it starts breaking. Let's also make sure that it sort of matches the design as much as we can. So in terms of the space under the form, it looks okay. Actually, I think the angle is different on desktop. Oh boy. Yeah, angle's different on desktop. Yep. It's a bit less like angled on desktop, so we actually may want to change that as well. So let's say mobile was 8 degrees, so we want it to be less angled on desktop. Let's try 5. That's pretty, I think that's pretty good. Maybe a little bit, maybe 6 degrees. So let's just update that media query. So instead of 8 degrees, it'll be less angled at 6 degrees. Okay. So let's go back, sort of test it, see at what point it starts breaking again. So now at this width, you can see the triangle angled part is getting above that flat part. And it's also sticking out below there. So let's just tweak it again. It's breaking around here. And that's about, what is that? 1300 pixels. So let's add another media query. At 1300 pixels. And then add this MQ-1300 up. And then we'll just copy that transform thing. And then let's see what we need to do to fix that. So this is kind of like my general approach to responsive design stuff in terms of making breakpoints. So like you can kind of see I've only created the breakpoints that I need to make sure the design doesn't break at certain widths. So I'm not like kind of trying to preemptively say, okay, for whatever an iPhone 6 width is to a Samsung 9, and then kind of creating all these different breakpoints, because one, you're going to find that a lot of these breakpoints will just have the same styles. So you're adding a lot of like sort of unnecessary breakpoints and media queries to your CSS. So it's kind of a more, I guess, efficient, minimal approach when you only add the breakpoints as you see them breaking in the design. And, that kind of saves you on the code that you're writing, and it also kind of keeps the code a bit cleaner. So let's see. This is where it gets tricky. I'm actually going to try to, let's move this down here, because we want to be able to see our wonderful triangle. So 1475. Okay, so here's kind of where it's good, and then after this point it starts breaking. And that is about 1300, just like we were saying. So after that, what do we want to do? We want to maybe move this triangle down a little bit again. So instead of translate Y55, let's put it down more. We'll just go a little past. Okay, you can see he's breaking this other part here. So actually, I think what we need to do is adjust the height as well. So height would be, right now it's set to 150, so we need to make that taller. Let's try 250. We'll just add another, maybe 200. 250 seems like a little much. So then it's bigger height, so let's move that triangle up. And I feel like that's really like kind of getting close to that content for desktop. Yeah, there's like a lot more space under there, but we will add that space. We'll add that top padding for the footer content. Let's just make sure this triangle works. Okay, so it looks like we actually need to, what do we need to do? I think we need to make this parent element a bit taller too. So we made the pseudo element a height of 200. So let's say height of also 200. Okay, there we go. So now you can see that it is covering everything. Okay, so let's copy that stuff over. And let me just sort of eyeball and see how that looks. I think that's okay. So for the pseudo element, we're going to do, was it 52% for translate Y? Translate X is the same. 6 degrees, which is what we got for the 500 and up. And then height is 200 pixels. So that's the other thing that changes. And then we'll also change the height for the parent element. Cool. Okay. Now let's go back and test. So looks good here. I'm starting to worry about, like, for people who have like really large monitors, it is going to break at some point. So I wonder if at some point I need to actually set the height to like a percentage of the width or something. Gosh, I don't know. I'm trying to think what you'd have to do, because as you get wider and wider, the triangle needs to be moved down. It's almost like you need to write like a like a formula or something. I'm just sort of trying to think out loud here. So I feel like the height, you want it to be relative to the width in some way. So calc of 100%. I don't even know if this is going to work. What I'm trying to do is see if I can use a percentage or something to make it so that even at a super wide width, it would like not break as easily. I don't know, y'all. This is kind of hard. I think I also want to make sure that we have overflow hidden. So then at least everything's kind of contained in there. No, I think we don't want overflow hidden because then we want this to come out. I mean, honestly, like who's going to have like this super, super wide monitor anyway? Yeah, I think we're just going to do what we can for a reasonable width and then, you know, not worry too much about it if it breaks at like extreme widths. So say 62%, maybe 60%. Okay. We're getting there, guys and gals. Okay, I think that's all right. You know what? I think that's pretty good. Let's get rid of these borders again. Okay. Not too bad. Not too bad. Cool. All right. Wow, it's been almost 2 hours. Thanks for joining, everyone. Yeah, this is taking a little longer than I thought. Before I started streaming, I was like, oh, this is easy. Like, it's just footer. How hard can it be? But I kind of forgot about that triangle element, which has always been throwing me off. That said, I think we can do this. I believe in us. Okay, so let's do these desktop styles. The first thing we want to do is we want to make sure there's enough space above the footer content for desktop. So it looks like it's about 140 pixels. So I think what we're going to do is, okay, in the footer content wrapper, we'll just add some more padding to the top. So 150, so it's about 300 top padding. Seems like a lot. Yeah, it's a little too much. Let's try 200. Maybe 220. Okay, that's good. So we'll add a padding top to footer content. Where are we? Okay, we're sort of done with that triangle thing. There we go. Padding top 220. Okay, there we go. And then we did the order thing, so the links are in the middle. We just need to kind of figure this thing out. So the contact section looks actually okay. I think it's just the form, yeah. Oops. Sorry, I'm getting a call from a spammer. We will just ignore that. Oh, yeah. Thanks for Jessica, and thanks for. I'm glad you have found this helpful. Let's see. So, try to think of the way to do this. So we can control the width using the flex property, and let's say if we want one of these elements to be double, so like the links element looks like it's about double the width of the logo element. So we could say flex basis of 1 and then flex basis of 2 for the links. And then maybe looks like it's about the same as the form. So let's try that. We're just testing the browser again. So flex of 1. And then for the form, we'll do flex of 2. This might not work. Flex of 2. Okay. Actually, that did work. Let's do that. And this is messed up, but we will figure that out in 1 second. I'm just thinking 1 to double might be not enough. So what if we did 1, maybe 2, 4, and 3. Oh, I'm sorry. 4, let's try 5 even. And then 2. It might not be enough. So I'm just trying to get the ratios kind of right. Let's try that. So we're going to do 1 for contact, 5 for links, 3 for form. Contact is 1, flex of 1. And then the form was, what did we say? 3, I think. And then the links, which is sort of the widest one, flex of 5. Okay, I think that's better. So what this means is that Flexbox sort of oh, this isn't big enough. I'll fix that in a second. So what this means is that flex of 1 means it'll be intelligently sort of calculated. So the contact is 1. The form is going to be, since it has flex 3, it's going to be 3 times the width of the contact thing. And then I'd said this was 5, which is a little much. But I think what I also want to do is I want to set a minimum height width for this logo section. So what's the minimum width that everything's going to be on the one line? Because we really don't want this to break onto 2 lines. So this is about 227 pixels wide. So another thing we can do is, instead of just flex 1, we'll say flex 1, meaning it can grow. 0, we don't want it to shrink. And then I forgot what I said. Let's just say 350. So let's get rid of these. We'll just set these a bit better. Actually, we don't want it to grow. We want it to stay at 350. So what I did was, it's almost the same thing as setting a width of 350. Well, you're just kind of including that in the flex box like stuff. So let's just say 225. So that means the flex basis, the first parameter in the flex property is flex grow. So that's like if you allow the element to grow, wider than it is. Flex shrink means it's allowed to shrink in order to fit everything on one line. And flex basis is the default width that you want to be set at. So we'll just move this to flex 00225 for that. Where is this? It's the footer contact. So instead of flex 1, we're saying we don't want it to grow, we don't want it to shrink, we want it to be 225 all the time. So that's what this is now. Then we can sort of work on this, you know, flex. Yeah. Let's just try flex 1 for the other ones and see how that looks. Set flex 1 and then flex 1. Yeah, I'm still sort of figuring out Flexbox, and like it sort of intelligently sets things, but there's something wrong with this form here. Oh, because there's margins and stuff added. I don't need that. I don't want that. So I think I just want the margin. I'll just update these styles for the footer form. Where are we? Okay. So the email has a right margin that I want to get rid of. So we'll just say 0 top margin, 0 right margin, and then, I don't know, maybe 15 pixels bottom margin, 0 left margin. There we go. Oh, looks so much better. And the button has a left margin, but I should probably get rid of that too. 0 top, 0 right, 0 bottom, and then I guess 0. So it's just 0 all the way around for the button. There we go. So now everything looks way better. Cool. Let's see if this actually made them the same. So the footer form is 362 pixels wide. Footer links is 440. I'm not exactly sure how they calculate that this needs to be like, I guess this is, it's giving more width to here maybe because there's more content. I'm not really sure. I don't know how Flexbox works. This form actually might be a little bit wide. Also, we need to remember those little divider things. So on the design, it's 364 pixels wide for the form. And then on top of that, there's like this divider here. Let's add the dividers in. Where are we going? So I want to add a divider line to these elements here. So footer links, let's do footer links, then the div. So we already sort of added a margin bottom to each of the direct children. So we're also going to do a border right of 1 pixel solid. And what color is this? That's probably white. And then let's see how that looks. Okay, that doesn't look great. Oh, I'm sorry, it's not in the links. It's for the footer content. Yeah. So footer content, I'll do another one of these div things. And I think the this is only for when the footer elements are next to each other. Okay, so that's a little bit more like what we want. Now, the border right's only for the logo part and then the links. And then the last element, the form doesn't have it. So let's go down to the form. And we'll just say border is none for this one. So, oops. Footer content, footer form. Oh, weird. Border right none? I guess it needs an important because it's not very specific enough. Cool. Now let's add a little space, right? So here's the little border. It's about, you always want that breathing room, you know? So it's 57 and 55. We'll just do 55. So I think what we want to do is I'm going to add a padding right for the elements that have the border. And then, so this padding right will be like this. And the line's right here. Then we'll add another set of padding for, I guess, all the elements. So where's that content div? So let's say padding. Let's just do padding 0.55 pixels. Okay, we're not going to worry about how these are stacking at this moment. Okay, so we're going to do another sort of child type selector. So we don't want the padding. So right now I set a universal padding on these elements on the left and the right side. But for the first element, we don't want the left padding, so it's kind of like all the way out to the edge. And then on the last element, we don't want the padding on the right side. So it'll also be all the way to the right edge. So let's do that now. So footer contact for MQ 1000 pixels and up. We're going to say padding left is 0 pixels. Let's see if that works. I might need to do another important thing. I hate using important, but I think because using this child selector made it the global styles that I set for those more specific than the footer contact. So I really hate using important, but I think that's the only thing I can really do right now. And then for footer, where are we? For the form on desktop, we want to get rid of that right padding. So padding right is 0 pixels and add the important. It's kind of like emails, like, you know, you can set how urgent they are. And when you have that system in place, people just start setting all their emails to urgent. So then urgency means nothing. It's kind of the same thing. You really want to use the important thing really very sparingly if you can. Otherwise, everything's going to be important, and then like it's going to sort of become completely useless. Okay, so this looks pretty good. Yeah. So what we want to do is we want to make these side by side on desktop. And I am kind of wondering if for smaller widths, it may need to be 2 across instead of 3 across. So let's kind of look at that now and just, we can sort of put the styles in that we think it'll work out with, and then we can just tweak. So the first thing we're going to do is for footer links, we'll make this also a flex element. And then right away, it is like that. So actually, it doesn't look half bad. I mean, there's less spacing than in the design, but at least everything's kind of fitting. So we may need to stack this at some point when we hit a certain width. Let's see. Wow, guys, I think this is the longest stream I've done. It's over 2 hours now. I don't know if I should feel accomplished or feel like I'm not working fast enough, but let's just add this flex stuff to the footer links div. Okay, so here we go. We got everything on one line. Looks pretty good, looks pretty good. And then around here, which is 1145 pixels wide, this is when it starts to feel a bit cramped. Yeah, so I think at this point, we would want to figure something else out. Like either make this 2 across, or you know what we could do is sort of make the form on the bottom, or we could sorry, this is the mobile styles. This is just kind of me sort of tweaking it and making sure like the UX is okay. So at this point, this is like a lot of space. So, you know, for a tablet, it looks kind of weird because there's like so much space. So it's almost like on tablet, I would want this to maybe have the logo stuff on the left and then the form on the right, and then the links at the bottom, and they would be stacked across. I think that might look pretty good. So let's try to do that now, actually. So iPad width starts at about 768. So if we make these styles where it stacks 2 across, we can start that at around 700 or so, and we know that it'll sort of take that into account. So let's see, footer content. I think what we had right now was we made it be display flex at 1000 pixels and up, but to add it to make it flex at desktop widths, let's add another media query variable here at 700, and then we're gonna add that media query for tablet here, and we're gonna make it flexbox sooner than 1000 pixels. So now this doesn't look good because it's now 3 across. So the next thing I want to do is you can do flex wrap. So you're telling it it's okay to wrap instead of just trying to fit everything. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to set footer contact to flex of 1, footer form also to flex of 1. Oops. 1. And then, wait, I want this to wrap. So I think if I do flex, grow, don't shrink, and then we'll say it's going to be 50%. And we'll do that for both the footer contact and the footer form. There we go. So now you can see that the contact and the form are fitting together, but the links are all on the bottom. So this is the next step in what we want this to look like. So we'll take this. So for footer contact and footer form, at tablet width, which we said was a 700 pixels and up, we will add this flex property. So for footer contact and footer form, media MQ 700 and up. Hope this is making sense to you all. Yeah, if there's any questions that you have, feel free to leave a message in the chat and I will do my best to answer it. Okay. Oh, I forgot the flex wrap. That's why it's like looks so weird. Flex wrap of wrap. There we go. Look how nice that looks. Yeah, this looks pretty good, guys. I guess the other thing I could do is add that border back in, but let's just make these links go all the way across. So footer links, we had put them side by side on desktop, but now we need to do the same thing and make it a flexbox element earlier. So for tablet size, MQ 700 up. I like using round numbers in my breakpoints because it's just easier to remember. There we go. So now, let's see what it looks like. Okay, and then we also need to do the same thing for the children. I should actually move this up here. I like to have my media query specific styles first before like any child element styles. There we go. So we're going to do flex 1 at 700. And I guess we don't need that 1000 and up one anymore. Hey, what happened? That's weird. It should go all the way across. I wonder if it's because the flex, like, maybe this needs to be flex 1 too. There we go. That's okay. I kind of wish these were a little closer together. Okay, so I'm setting the flex grow to 0 so it doesn't go all the way across. And then we'll just do, I think it looks okay. So then it's more aligned with what's on top. So footer links, we're changing the flex property of footer links. Now let's just make sure that we haven't broken the desktop styles and the mobile styles. So this is a tablet styles. Looks good, looks good. Okay, so it breaks to 3 columns on desktop. Nice. Let's go back down to mobile. Okay, so this is where it breaks to mobile. So this looks good, relatively. I'm not a designer. I'm just sort of tweaking it so it looks like okay to my eyes. This looks good. It's stacked. All right. So I think that actually might be the last thing that we had to do here. Yeah, this is awesome. Yeah, I think the footer looks good. I'm pretty happy with that. Cool. So I think we will maybe leave this. We'll just say that this is done. Yeah, this looks pretty good. Thanks so much for hanging with me this whole time, everybody. This is a long stream, but we got a lot done. We finished this website project, and I am planning on streaming again in the future. I would like to stream every week. I think it seems to be something that's pretty helpful for people. So yeah, I will keep streaming. I'll try to think of another website project to do next time. Maybe just a similar kind of, simple landing page thing, or I could do maybe one, either a super simple or maybe a little bit more complex topic in responsive design, and just kind of build that out for you step by step. So yeah, if you're not following me on Twitch already, feel free to give me a follow, and then you'll get email notifications every time I do start streaming. Secondly, if you want to follow me on Instagram, that's where I put a lot of content. So let me just show you really quick. I feel like most of you probably came here from Instagram, but if you haven't, I'm at the Coder on Instagram. And I post, maybe not every single day, but pretty frequently there. And I think it's just a cool place to discuss topics with people. Like this last post, I was talking about this organizational method called getting things done. And I'm trying to implement that with Trello. So, some coding stuff, things I'm working on. But yeah, it's just a good way if you want to kind of stay updated and see what kind of stuff I'm making and, different resources that might help you. So yeah, thanks so much for tuning in, everyone. I appreciate it. And we'll see you next time.